I still can't wrap my mind around it. But good thing is we've got James Palmer to help me try to just make sense of this, because it's just crazy. We got Todd Davis, James Palmer, and Zac Stevens rolling with you guys today. James, 70 points?
Yeah, I'm no mathlete, so I'm not sure if I can help you out with 70, but that's a lot of touchdowns. That was unreal, man. I mean, that was unbelievable. I also just realized I think I look really good today. I still have makeup on. I realized I came here straight from TV at my house, doing in the basement studio at the Palmer house, and I still got the makeup on, guys. I'm feeling pretty good.
You are looking really fresh. And
crossing the leg.
And now you're showing the shoes, which you were nice talking about before the show, which are nice.
Todd got a lot of shoe love at the beginning when we walked in. What do you got on there, Todd?
Just some Louboutin.
Some Louboutin.
Just some.
Yeah,
the Air Max back down. Okay.
Yours are the most colorful. I'll give you that.
True.
I like them, though. They're spiffy.
Spiffy. Okay.
Yeah. What word would you use?
Slick.
Spiffy and slick. Those are
rad,
close, right? Yeah.
Nobody says rad anymore.
James, you had this weekend off of work, didn't you?
Yeah, I just watched games. It was wild. So I watched games, prepared for our show. Me and Steve White are the NFL Report. Make sure you catch that
on podcast.
It's a podcast.
And
it's on YouTube. It's on the NFL Fast channel. It's like Dion. It's got it can do everything. Back when he played. So I just watched games preparing for that show, and so we led our show on Monday with the Dolphins putting up 70. And we saved the Broncos portion for later in the show. You can go on YouTube and watch it. The show, I posted it this morning. We had Leslie Frazier on the show, former defense coordinator of the Bills last year, been a head coach. He broke down his thoughts on the defensive side later in the show and him and Vance are good friends. What he saw was lacking. We can get into that. But we mostly started with this Dolphins offense is so balanced and so many weapons. To not have Jalen Waddle and do that to a defense is unreal. I mean, the 70 is nuts to me, Todd. But to be the first team ever to go over 350 rushing and over 350 passing in the same game, when I say balance, that stat to me blows my mind.
Absolutely. I feel like as defenses, one of our game plans was to make them one-dimensional. Either make them have to pass or make them have to run. And it literally felt like the Dolphins were able to do whatever they wanted to do whenever they wanted to do it. And to be able to balance run and pass that well, I think is phenomenal for them as a team. It hurts to be a Denver Broncos fan and see it. But the Miami Dolphins, man, hats off to them. They played a tremendous game.
Was the only negative play for the Dolphins in that game the fourth down when they went for it? And they weren't able to get it. I think every other play went for at least 2 yards.
Yeah, I have a terrible tweet that has not aged well that I sent out.
I think we all do, especially from this game.
Trevor Siemian. I don't know where.
Checking the text.
Yes, I'm going to the Jets. That was going for it on 4th and 1, that deep in your own zone. Russ has moved the ball well. Offenses look decent. Maybe a little overconfident. No, that tweet was just toast after I put that out. Because honestly, the offense didn't look bad in the first half. I mean, you get 2 touchdowns called back due to penalties.
Yeah.
Russ is moving the ball pretty well. They looked all right. They looked coming out Todd. They came out of the huddle decently. They had some time at the line of scrimmage. I was like, okay, some things have been corrected that we talked about all week.
Yeah.
And then the wheels came off. But, that was maybe the only play. And I think that play is a microcosm of, probably Mike McDaniel and Vic Fangio going, well, if we don't get it, we're fine.
Yeah. Right.
And it's crazy because the series after that, the offense literally went backwards.
Yeah.
They got the ball in field goal range and then ended up having to punt to end that series. I don't even know how that happens. How do you make so many bad decisions as far as play calling and execution that you end up going backwards out of field goal range after a huge stop? I think that added on to the way that their offense was already moving the ball was kind of like the stake in the coffin that kind of ended all the momentum or all the energy that the team could have ended up coming with.
I mean, it's just a microcosm of the Denver Broncos the past 7-8 years is just complimentary football being completely gone from this team. The defense has been so good for so many years, and the offense has been so bad. And now this year, it's flipped, and it's like the offense is good enough to win, but the defense has given up 70.
You're forgetting the third one. It was like last year, special teams is terrible. And now the special teams has been like pretty good outside of the couple missed kicks that cost them the other game. But like Marvin Mims and like other aspects of the special teams, we're back.
Yeah.
Defense isn't there.
But
It is wild.
Even that, you add that in, special teams has been really good the past 2 weeks. But week one,
it was terrible.
Lost them the game.
That's always like, Todd, I'm curious what that's like in the locker room when it's not a constant that's your problem, right? It's a different aspect of the team each and every week that's costing you a game. I mean, you are right. It's special teams that could have won them the game in week one. Week two, Russ fumbles at the half. They, kind of fall apart as an offense a little bit. Obviously, the defense gives up the comeback, but the offense wasn't there in the second half. Then this defensive performance in the third. What's it like when it's a different part of the team each and every week? Is that more frustrating than what we've seen in Denver in the past, where you guys defensively have played like crazy and it's consistently the offense for a season? Which one hurts worse?
I think this hurts worse, where no matter where
there's
you
less
turn,
answers.
There's less answers because us as a defense, as captains, we can go talk to offensive captains and the quarterback and kind of shake them and get them riled up. Like, hey, we need you guys. We're holding our weight. Like, you know what I'm saying? But now that same conversation can't take place because we're not holding our weight, and then you guys can't come yell at us because you're not holding your weight. Everybody's just now looking around the locker room like, nobody knows what to do. Nobody knows how to make the situation better, and everybody just feels stuck. So I feel like this is way worse.
There's nothing to hang your hat on.
Nothing.
That will come out and play well on Sunday.
Yeah, because usually there's one thing that we do. Like either it's stopping the run or it's being able to run the ball. Even if we can't pass it, like there's one thing we usually do well. And now there's nothing. maybe Marvin Mims is like the thing we hang our hat on.
And at least he plays 2 units. Maybe they can put him out there at cornerback and try to lock down that other side. So that's really bad news. I guess the good news of this is when you look at the Bears, they are even more discombobulated when it comes to this complementary football. Like, they don't do anything on offense. They don't do anything on defense. And to be fair, I don't know about their special teams, but like, the Broncos are really struggling. The Bears even more so. There's zero identity.
I don't think you could have a worse day in the NFL than the Bears had was it Wednesday?
Oh, my goodness.
Like, when it's not even like written by a single beat reporter that your left tackle went on IR, that many other things happened in the same day.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
Left tackle goes on IR, starting left tackle. You cut your backup quarterback, but your defensive coordinator resigns, and your quarterback goes nuclear in his press conference to the point to where, have you ever had a player, Todd, that does their press conference and then needs to speak again in the locker room to kind of be like, hey, I didn't mean this.
Yeah.
I really meant that. He did 2 press conferences because of what happened.
No, I've never seen that. And the thing about it is, like, once you say it, it's said. And honestly, I felt like that's how he truly felt. So the second press conference was like, yeah, you're talking, but we've heard how you felt.
A big time. And Justin Fields a Buckeye, so by the way, huge weekend, guys. Huge weekend over the Irish.
Game.
Oh my God. Oh, cops came to the house. It was crazy. No, I'm just kidding.
So you didn't go out there?
I should have went to South Bend.
You should have been.
Albert was going to get me a ticket, and I didn't.
Dang.
I couldn't afford it. So to me, I think what Fields is doing, Todd, is I need to look out for my career and my future playing this position in the league. Like, this is a building that kills quarterbacks. I mean, for decades, it has just slaughtered quarterbacks. If Caleb Williams is nervous about going to the Cardinals, yeesh, I'd be nervous about going to the Bears too. But what he's saying, and obviously Twitter plays a part in this, right? Like, as soon as he goes, well, it's coaching. Coaching sent. Like, you didn't hear the rest of it. What he is saying is, I'm getting a lot of information. I'm getting overloaded. I'm trying to think of everything they're telling me on Sunday, and that is just not working. I remember when that happened to Carson Wentz, which he has some issues with coachability. He's not really coachable. But in Philly, his last year, there was like Rich Cangarilla was there. Marty Morningweg was there. They had like 9 voices in his ear. And it just was like an overload for him mentally. And I think that's what Justin was really saying. Like, this is too much. Like, you guys are putting too much on me. The other part I look at, Todd, is like when you have players where you need to figure out, I need to coach this guy differently because what we're doing now isn't working. I think your approach as a coaching staff needs to change sometimes. And I think he was kind of alluding to that a little bit as well. I mean, but they're in a really terrible spot. I mean, really terrible spot. You can't lose this game. Like, you literally cannot lose this game. Like, you can't lose this game. I mean, like, I don't know how else to put it. But, like, yeah, after giving up 70, if you lost to the Bears, I don't know what would happen, honestly.
And losing by 50
That's
points.
Jobs, probably.
Yeah, oh, I completely agree. But losing by 50 points, I know, to a very good Miami team. And they're only going to continue to get better, I think. But losing by 50 points does open the door that you could lose this game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you will. I don't think they will. The Bears' defense is terrible.
Yeah.
It is.
But
and so is their offense.
yeah. I mean, they still have some playmakers. I mean, what if Justin Fields goes back to just being like, I'm going to run all over the place?
And that's it. That's how it happens. Did you see the tackling? I mean, of course, we all saw the tackling of this Broncos defense. If he runs for 150 yards and they commit to that, they could absolutely win.
So I teased Leslie Frazier being on our show and what he said. So I'll tell you what he said, and Todd, I want your opinion on like if this matches what you watched as a defensive mind. Leslie was like, effort wasn't there, tackling wasn't there, but the one that stood out to me the most was he's like, I'm not sure if this scheme fits this personnel. That's what stood out to him the most, is going, I don't know if this scheme fits the personnel that VJ has.
I definitely agree with that. And I can't say that any position, whether it was D-line, outside linebackers, secondary, looks good in this scheme. Nothing really fits. Besides Pat Surtain week 1 and 2, nothing fits what all the other guys do. And the effort definitely wasn't there. You can see different plays. I mean, all over Twitter they had Kareem Jackson on that touchdown where he didn't necessarily go and dive to try and make the tackle. Like,
he didn't want another fine.
That's true too.
3 weeks in a row.
I think at certain points within the game, like, we're down by 40. Definitely the effort's not going to be there, and it wasn't there. And then also the scheme. I talked about yesterday how I think Vance Joseph has come in here and tried to blend last year's defense with this year's defense instead of just running his defense.
Interesting.
He's a very, very talented defensive coordinator, and he saw what Ejiro Evero did and had success and tried to put that in his defense when, in reality, he knows his defense best and should have came in here and just ran that. And I think you see a blend of those two defenses not working out.
That's a really good point.
So then my question to that is, it doesn't have to be someone's fault, but when these two things don't align, is that just obviously you're not going to be able to overhaul an entire defense in one off season to get your coordinator the type of guys they need, but is that George Payton and Sean Payton not aligning with what Vance needs, or does Vance need to come in and adjust even more so and almost do the opposite of what you're saying, Todd, and adjust even more to the personnel he has instead of having pieces that don't fit?
I think he may need to adjust to the personnel that he has, because right now it looks like there's no talent on the defense. It looks like our D linemen, they don't get any push. Our linebackers can't tackle. Our secondary is missing when it comes to deep passes. We don't have any pressure on the quarterback. It looks like we have no talent in every single position. So maybe he needs to take a step back, evaluate the guys truly that we do have, and run a defense that's best for what's here, because you can't overhaul the defense entirely. Maybe you get 3 new pieces, you know what I'm saying, to plug into this defense. But a lot of these guys are going to be here next year just because of, turnover as far as defense every year. You can't get 11 new players.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. And you both mentioned effort, and that's something that I want to get into after I tell you about our friends over at Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 over at Bet365 to get $365 in bonus bets over at Bet365, where they don't do ordinary. They're all about the extraordinary and unordinary, where they have so many cool bets over there. You can get so many unique bets that you can't find anywhere else. Use that code DNVR365 over with our friends at Bet365 to get $365 in bonus bets when you sign up and place just a $1 bet. Must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And shout out to my friends over at Primo Hoagies. For my good friends at Primo Hoagies, football season is here, and big games mean big parties. Remember, it isn't just football, it's an experience. So don't settle for an average catering tray. Make it Primo. No matter what you have planned, there's no bigger crowd pleaser than Primo Hoagies, made with only the highest quality Thuman's meat and cheeses, sliced fresh to order and served on Primo award-winning seed rolls, baked fresh every day. I definitely can go for a Primo Hoagie, and you need to check them out. They have locations both in Denver and Centennial. You can order your party trays in advance and online at primohoagies.com. It's not just a hoagie, it's a Primo.
I know James can go for a Primo right now.
Dude, I love Primo so much. That reminds me of home like crazy. Love Primo.
But yeah, you have to show effort in order to earn a
Takes
Primo.
effort to take one of those down.
Yeah. And so you both mentioned effort, and we talked about it yesterday. Like, yeah, at some point in a game when you're down 50, 40, when you're giving up 70, the effort naturally is probably going to die off. And we had a press conference with Quinn Miners yesterday, and he was mentioning how his effort was always there, always there. He wanted to fight through the whistle even at the end of the game, and he just kept bringing it up. And so I was like, well, I'm going to ask him, does he think the effort was there for everyone? And I asked him, and he said, yeah, effort was absolutely not an issue. And I didn't necessarily expect a third-year offensive lineman still trying to really find his full spot with this team to say that the effort wasn't there. But the reaction I got from fans was they want the effort to not be there this past Sunday, because they said if the effort was fully there, then this is an unbelievably bad football team. But I think it was pretty clear at times that the effort just wasn't there, and it's probably natural.
Yeah. It's natural. Like, if anybody's played sports and you're getting your ass kicked, like, sometimes you either do one of two things, right, Todd? Like, you get a bad penalty because you're frustrated. That's why hockey's great, because you can beat the shit out of somebody, right? Or, like, the effort just goes. I mean, I got my butt kicked by a zillion people in high school basketball in Philadelphia that went on to play in the NBA. We were down like 50, like regularly. Yeah. My effort was not great in the fourth quarter. I was just launching threes, just trying to do whatever I wanted to do to pat my individual stats. No, I'm just kidding. But like, it is difficult. That game is an anomaly. Like that just doesn't happen. Like losing by 50 just doesn't really happen in the NFL. It happens in college though. Like a lot of times when there's those games early in the season where like the directional schools or the, I mean like maybe Sac State or something comes in.
Shout out to Sac State just beating Stanford. You know how we do.
No big deal. No big deal. But like those games do happen, and some guys do learn that at the college level to keep competing in those. But it was almost one of those where you just have to chalk up the game. Like that's the good thing. The difference between college football and pro football is like one game doesn't end your season. Essentially,
one loss is one loss.
One loss is one loss, and that's the way it is. That's like the silver lining to the NFL in that sense. But when you get embarrassed to that point and Rex Ryan's running his mouth like out there, by the way, that's really been annoying. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, and it's only gonna continue to happen.
Yeah.
It's
not gonna stop.
It's gonna happen this week. If they lose to the Bears, you think it's been bad right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just wait till the Bears put up like 24 points. He's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, Rex is loving it. Rex is the only person liking this right now, I think. Yeah. Whew.
How much better would this defense be with Rex Ryan?
I don't know. I really don't.
Because last week he said it'd be the #1 defense with him running it.
Yeah,
I roll my eyes to that as well.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, honestly, right now, by watching the team, it doesn't feel like we have the pieces to be the #1 defense.
Yep.
We could be a better defense than we are right now, but #1, I don't think we're coming for that spot for a little while.
I want to comment after you earlier when you were talking about the personnel fit and turning over the defense. Like, you haven't had picks. So it's pretty tough to do it when you haven't had picks and you keep changing coaching staffs.
Yep.
Right.
A lot of coaches, the way they do things, like the way Coobs builds an offense, he needs to get his type of offensive lineman in there, right? They're usually like smaller, more agile to run that kind of like zone scheme he likes. And sometimes it would take him like 2 years to be like, no, I need to get my group together. When you keep turning coaching staffs and you don't have any picks, like a coordinator has to work with what he has when he comes in. Now, I do really, really like Todd's point, and I'll be honest about it. Like trying to blend everything together, maybe not the best idea, because I could also see that why VJ thought that though. Like they had success.
It sounds great,
but I got to do mine.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like, but yeah, I mean that could have been one of the major, in terms of major aspects of it. Like, I just think pieces matter, and depth matters specifically on defense because you got to play different personnel groups, dime, nickel, everything. Like, they're not deep.
Right. And
that hurts.
And wasn't that supposed to be one of the major advantages of bringing Sean Payton in, is finally stability in this building? And now just 3 weeks in, you have so many people saying, tank. You're 0-3. You're the worst team in the NFL. You're one of 4 winless teams in the NFL. But if you tank, you are turning everything over again outside of the offensive play caller, the head coach, because people want George Payton fired. People want Vance Joseph fired. And any stability you thought you had outside of the offensive side of the ball, it's gone. It's completely gone. Now, the hope would be that then Sean would bring his own guy in at general manager, bring another defensive coordinator in after the season, and then you have stability there. But that was supposed to be what just happened this year. But that was supposed to be the thing with Sean Payton. With Nathaniel Hackett, yeah, you hoped he was going to be here for a while, but he was this inexperienced guy. Maybe it wasn't going to work out. With Sean, there's supposed to be no question about that.
Real quick, Sean ran through defense coordinators in New Orleans. Like, that did happen pretty regularly. After Dennis Allen left.
Yep.
Like, he ran through Spags. He mowed through some DCs. Like, that did happen. I mean, listen, I'm just saying, like, you're talking about stability and, like,
that's a great point.
That's just, that has been the past. That has happened there. So, I mean, yeah, he could always be looking for his guy. I mean, he has carte blanche in that building, right?
Yeah.
Very
100%.
few head coaches around this league have probably the say in the entire building that Sean has.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Belichick,
Without a doubt.
Andy Reid.
Yep.
I was going to say Kyle, but he's got a really good partnership with John Lynch. But, like, he can bring in his own GM if he wanted to.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
they'd almost let him if things get that bad. But
Oh,
you're talking
of
about
course.
tanking after 3 games?
A lot of people are.
Yeah.
A lot of people are. You think it's crazy?
Yes. Like, we were going to, I told you I wanted to talk about this, that saying, like, when are we benching Russ as, like, the national narrative? And I was on NFL Network talking about it today, being like, how is that? That's just a lazy narrative, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, just saying, when are they moving on from Russ? I'm like, if you've watched all 3 games, I don't think you're moving on from Russ. Has he been perfect? No. Has there been mistakes? Yes. Has there been mistakes that fall on several other people and on him, honestly, with some turnovers and stuff? But you're 3 games into it, learning a new offense.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're going to say, like, let's move on?
I
And
just feel
There's just
like
too much consistent, Todd, like, success between your play caller and your offensive leader and your quarterback in this league, both of them,
Yep.
to just give up after 3 games. It doesn't even make sense to me, honestly.
I just feel like the reason why a lot of people are saying tank now is because if you look through the schedule, it would be easy to do. Besides the Jets and the Bears, like Chiefs, Bills, Vikings, Chargers, Raiders, like we don't know how many games we're going to win anyway. So if we just went the route of tanking, like it's only really like giving up maybe 2 more games throughout the season. And I don't know if we tank for a quarterback, but maybe we tank for just a high pick. I don't know if we need to, get rid of Russ, but we also need pieces. So tanking will put us towards the top of that draft picking to where we could get another really good piece.
And that's maybe the most interesting part about this conversation when it comes to tanking and the Broncos this year, next year, the year after, is Russ is not the issue with this team right now.
Yep.
But there is Caleb Williams, Drake Maye in this coming draft class. Obviously, Caleb Williams, maybe one of the best prospects at quarterback ever, and it still is a prospect. You still don't know if he's going to turn into Patrick Mahomes. I think those comps are pretty wild. But then Drake Maye, too, is also a guy who's viewed as like an incredible prospect. But if you get one of those guys, you're obviously moving on from Russ. And if Russ plays to a level that you could trade him and get good capital back for him, then you're not going 3-14 this year. You're not going to do that, and you're probably not moving on from Russ. But if you move on from Russ, you are killing yourself cap-wise, whether it's a trade, whether it's a cut, not just for next year, but for the next 2 years. So then you're in a sticky situation where you have a young quarterback that has not much talent around him already, and then plus you're going to have to trim down the roster in order to cut Russ and move on from Russ. So you're making this team even worse than it is now. and you're bringing a rookie quarterback in. That is a recipe to be the Chicago Bears and what they've been.
Who's going to trade for Russ?
Probably no one.
Yeah, with the contract.
That's why you're cutting him. That's
Bears,
likely you're
What's
cutting
going
him.
on?
Yeah.
Nobody financially can pick up that money right now.
Yeah.
But you could take it on the chin and eat all of the cap in 1 year. It wouldn't affect you in 2 years. You could take the largest cap hit in the history of the NFL.
$80 million, right?
I think it'd be 45.
45?
45 total, I believe, if it's a post June 1st cut.
But then wouldn't that
Oh
spread
no, I'm
it
sorry,
out
not
over
a post
2 years?
June. No, yeah, I think you could do 45 this year. I haven't looked this up recently, but I'm pretty sure it's 45. The record was 40 with Matt Ryan in Atlanta. And damn, did Arthur Smith do a really good job still winning games somehow with like a half a roster.
Doing a good job
that
now,
next
too.
year. Yeah, Art's a pretty good coach. So it would be the largest cap hit in the history of the league if you took it all in 1 year.
Yeah.
Which maybe you do with a rookie if you draft a rookie quarterback at the top. But like you guys are saying that the Broncos are in the likes of like the Bears, the Cardinals, who by the way beat the Cowboys, who aren't apparently tanking for Jonathan Gannon by any means, even though they don't have any talent. You'd have to be in the top 2 picks to get one of these quarterbacks.
100%. You have to be that bad. But James, the Broncos are one of 4 winless teams right now. It doesn't mean that they're one of the 4 worst teams in the NFL, but you look at their losses. Dolphins, that's outside of losing by 50. That's a fine team to lose to because the Dolphins are really good.
Yeah.
The Raiders, their only wins against the Broncos right now.
Raiders
and
look
then
bad.
the Commanders, they have 2 wins. One of them was against the Cardinals. Maybe the Cardinals are a little better than we thought. But after they went out and put 35 on the Broncos, Sam Howell went out and put up 3 points. In fact, he had more interceptions than points scored for the Commanders. 3. So
That's what I was talking about when I was talking about the game. He wanted to throw picks, but we just couldn't get our hands on him.
it's
But he
true.
was ready. He's a young quarterback.
He was
And he just skipped over us with them.
He was trying. And then so if you look at those games that the Broncos have lost, you go through the schedule, Todd, and you pointed these next 2 games, probably the most winnable games on the Broncos schedule. And with that Jets defense, that is not a gimme. Really, the Bears should be a gimme. I agree with you, James.
What I'm curious about this, though, Zach, with your tanking scenario, Todd's been in locker rooms.
Yep.
You came in to change the culture of this organization, and you were going to bring in a winning culture with Sean Payton, and you're paying him an obscene amount of money to change not just the locker room, but the entire building.
Yep.
And then you're going to go out there and encourage losing in the very first year that he's trying to change that culture. Todd, is that possible heading into the second offseason? Oh, guys, by the way, I know everything I told you in my first offseason with you is how I'm going to change this, and we're going to do this, and I've changed the entire building.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that again in another way after I tanked this entire season.
Yeah,
It's not believable.
It's gonna be a bad look, especially for his first year. But I can say he could do it without announcing that he's gonna do it. You know,
And
he could
how-
just make
how
some
is
questionable calls. You know, what I'm saying, put Russ in some bad positions, and you know, just kind of let things happen without putting a lot into winning. You know what I'm saying? Let the defense kind of fall apart as they may. Kind of keep your message the same. Maybe help the offense, but let the defense continue to fall further down, so that now the offense is putting up 30 points, but we're still losing 30 to 35. Like, not saying he should do it, but I'm saying there's a way he could do it without saying he's doing it.
And then another way to do it, but he would be admitting to an extent that he's doing it, is you start trading players.
But the other part is, it goes entirely against Sean Payton's DNA
100%.
to tank and to be viewed as a loser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
That irks him beyond belief when people are out there thinking he's failing.
Yep.
So I just don't think that matches with the way he is made up by any means.
I completely
I
agree with
agree.
you, James. He started.
I mean, more so than most head coaches.
Yeah. Sean Payton has started 0-3 3 times. This is not a foreign situation to him. All 3 of those seasons, he's finished 7-9, and that's the worst he's ever been as a head coach. Is 7-9. For that to be your worst mark is pretty damn good over a 15-year span. So you're 100. It's not in his DNA, James, and that's why I find it very hard to believe that that's actually what would happen.
No, I don't think so.
And I think the Broncos aren't there yet. But let's talk about when they would be there after I tell you about our friends over at Breckenridge Distillery, official whiskey of the Denver Broncos and of us. So check them out over at BreckenridgeDistillery.com and participate in the Battle of the Bourbons, where you can vote on either Alfred Williams' blend or Ed McCaffrey's blend. Maybe the Broncos need some help. You should pull for Alfred Williams in that defense to get the job done with this, and maybe that'll help their defense out. We also have a lot of shooters right here. Man, we've got it all on set. So check out our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery. They're giving away a ticket to the Broncos-Chargers game on New Year's Eve. If you post hashtag Broncos Bourbon on Instagram or Facebook, they're going to narrow those winners down on December 1st. So you've got time, but do it now. Go to BreckenridgeDistillery.com, Bourbon of Denver Broncos, to get in on all of this, and find Breckenridge Distillery in all 50 states.
And shout out to our friends over at Backus & Schenker. When you get hurt, Backus & Schenker is here to help. Backus & Schenker wins for Colorado families, helping those who have been seriously injured in Colorado for more than 25 years. And the great thing about them is that they're free until they win money for your case. There's no upfront fee to speak with them about your case. No fee while they work on your case. No fee unless they win your case. And they've been winning a lot, which is what they've done for over 25 years. They won over $1 billion for their clients. And they have a lot of locations around Colorado, serving offices in Denver, Aurora, Inglewood, and Fort Collins. Backus & Schenker is here to help. Check them out. Dial 222-2222 to set up a consultation.
So, James, you are so against tanking, and I totally understand why. I completely get it from a Broncos perspective, from an outsider's perspective, from a Sean Payton perspective. But at what point would you be like, they have to?
Now, there is an instance. Tanking's like a bad word, I think, of the NFL. It's pretty difficult to do, in all honesty. But there is a time, like we're looking at it probably with like the Vikings, being 0-3. I wouldn't think, like, here's a great example, all right? Vikings haven't won a game yet. Broncos haven't won a game yet, right? Let's look at the two organizations. Both have quarterbacks with massive salaries. And everybody's going, well, maybe they'll trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets, Well, but you went and got Cam Akers. You added Dalton Reisner to your offensive line. I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're trying to tank. That's my point.
Right.
But there is a time period, and I'm using Minnesota as an example to get back to the Broncos, to when the trade deadline is closer, and that's when you start evaluating your team, going like, could we move on from player X to build some draft capital that we've been lacking over the last couple years and turn it into 3 players, turn it into 4 guys, add depth and players. You don't really start looking at this until you get closer to the trade deadline. If you're a team in a position like, say, Minnesota or Denver. My point is, Minnesota won a lot of games last year. Denver didn't. But my point is, nobody was really looking at it from that perspective yet. Then you start looking at it going, where can I get some capital from some of these players? My interesting point would be, who would that be from the Broncos? Like, who is desired for enough capital that you'd be like, yep, let's do that. Give me a list.
Justin Simmons?
Yep.
That's a top guy for me.
That's number one. And then in terms of top value,
you're straight. Yeah, no, who's going to give you value in terms of picks?
100%. In terms of value, no. I think if the next few weeks continue to go the way it is, maybe Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, they emerge back on the trade deadline. But the first round pick that you wanted for Jerry Jeudy,
that's not there.
That's 3rd or 4th.
Yeah,
Cortland
and they
Sutton.
were looking to move one of those guys.
Yeah,
I know everything keeps going back and forth, but like, well, everybody was calling about Jerry Jeudy because everybody wanted him. No, they were like completely open to listening to those guys. They wanted Alan Lazard here. The Jets just matched their offer for Alan Lazard, and Alan, obviously with his connections to Aaron, went to the Jets. They were actively trying to get him in free agency. So they were trying to revamp this offensive. Adam Thielen. Yeah, they were trying to revamp this, this wide receiver room. I don't know right now what the value you would get. For anybody outside of Justin.
What are we talking for Justin? Can you get a 1 or is it a 2?
Probably a 2. I don't think you can't get a 1 for Justin.
And it's tough because he's played to be able to get a 1 for him, but I think the name is what's holding him back, and the recognition for the Broncos not winning is actually what's holding him back from being able to get a 1.
100%. And then
trade Pat.
Be crazy. That would be crazy.
It would be crazy.
I mean, if you're looking for capital, that's the only spot where you can legitimately get a 1.
To me,
or more.
2 1s. You think you could get for Pat? Yeah, then no.
There's only one position you can get 2 1s for.
You're not doing
quarterback.
Well, I mean, you find the right team. The Jets giving up two 1s for
They already gave up their picks to get Aaron.
No. I'm sorry. The Seahawks, when they traded with the Jets to get Jamal Adams. So maybe you can get but my thing with that is,
I think the league learned from that trade.
I think the league learned, but also only a good team is going to do that.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get picked 28 next year and 30 the following year. Your success rate is like 50-50 on first-round picks, so you're going to get one starter out of that, and what's the odds that that turns into Pat Surtain? No, it's not going to happen. So if a really bad team wants to trade me a first-round pick for Pat Surtain, okay, then you think about it. But otherwise, no. So you're right. Justin Simmons is your really only guy that you're going to get something for. And so how much...
People usually want somebody that has a future, right, Todd? Like, and they're not
Exactly.
tied into, like, a massive contract.
Yep.
That's always kind of hard sometimes. So, like, younger guy, like, there's not a lot of players there that you could probably flip.
What about Javonte? Just speaking of younger players that are on a...
It's just I think Javonte depends on this year. He's young and talented coming back from an injury. Until he has another really good year, I think he's going to be hard to just trade.
Big time.
I agree. I totally agree with you. And so that's why another reason that it's not just easy to just tank and call it in. You could really get rid of one big piece. You could trade Kareem Jackson for a conditional 7th-round pick if a team needed a safety spot to open up. You can, but you're not getting anything of value. And so when this happens, I agree with you, James. You see this happen with teams right around the trade deadline. Okay, the season's officially gone when you're 1-7, 2-6 at the trade deadline. However, I think it's a little bit different with the Broncos this year. I think it could be microwaved with a loss this week. Because if you lose to the Bears, which you've made a really good point of, you should not lose to the Bears this week. But if you do, that is, I think, even more of an eye-opener than losing 70-20 to the Dolphins. Because
I totally agree.
Because the Bears are the worst team in the NFL. And if you lose to them, then it's like, oh my gosh, we're not going to beat the Jets at home. And if we do, we're certainly not beating the Chiefs on the road the next week on a short week. We're not beating the Packers at home. We're not beating the Chiefs at home the following week, and then it's the bye, which is the trade deadline.
You could win the bye week.
You can win the
You could
bye
beat the
week.
bye. You could beat the bye. No, you can't lose to the Bears.
Right.
Like,
No.
and I do think that is way worse, and I think jobs will be lost if they lose to the Bears. I mean, I genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
The 70 is 70. That's embarrassing for any way you slice it. But that's like the front runner for the MVP, maybe the most innovative offense, the most complete, fastest offense we've seen in some time. And Mike McDaniel deserves his due for what he's built and Chris Greer, what they built in terms of a roster. But like, the Bears were so bad on Sunday that it was the game that Taylor Swift was at, and they wouldn't stop showing her the entire game, and they cut out of that game in most markets in America, like 3/4 of the way through it.
That's wild.
Like, that's how bad the Bears were. Like, they were like, the league was like, no, what's the other 4 o'clock game?
Yeah.
I'm using East Coast time. The other 4 o'clock game we should go to because this is so bad with the Bears. You can't lose to that team.
No,
But-
you can't.
I don't know. I feel like 70 is rock bottom. I've never been in a game where a team has scored.
What's the most number, as a defensive player, the most number of points a team has ever scored against a defense that you were a part of?
I was on the sideline, but I think 50.
Yeah.
I didn't play,
Your
so
Eagles.
That would have been like probably, what, 42 if you played.
38,
You're worthy.
37.
You're worth more than a touchdown.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just a terrible outing. I don't think any loss is worse than that. Like, literally, you're being ridiculed across the nation. Everybody's talking about it. You talk about Rex Ryan having a lot to say about it. You're the laughing stock of the league right now. So losing to, quote unquote, the worst team in the league, so what? We've already been laughed at all day. Like, I don't feel like there's anything worse than this.
I do think that 70 would be more embarrassing nationally because it would get more headlines. If the Bears win, I don't think it's the top 2 stories on ESPN like putting 70 was.
No,
on
I
you.
do think it is after you gave up 70.
Oh, yeah.
The combination of the two puts you in.
And just
really
think about this. Week 1, you lose to the Raiders, extend your losing streak to 7 games to them. Internally, that's a really bad story. Nationally, not really. Week 2, you blow an 18-point lead to the Commanders, who, other than that, can't put up points this season. Week 3, you give up 70. Week 4, you lose to the Bears. You couldn't have designed a worse start to the season for the Broncos. So that's why I say next week. If they lose next week, then I'm not pounding the table for tanking right now. I will be then, because you literally have proved that you are that bad.
Let's not say tanking. Let's just say rebuild. I think
Rebuild,
that's
okay.
that's a better word and better phrase, and I think more along the path of what they will do.
Although rebuild was a word that John Elway would never say. He thought that was just the dirtiest word in the world.
Well, we're not John, so I'm gonna
It's
say
true.
rebuild.
So when do you get to that point, Todd?
Yeah, I think close to the trade deadline. But we don't have much to trade for, so I think we have to start looking at options now. We have to start looking at ways to rebuild this team and make it better for next year. I don't know if it's pulling any triggers right now, but we have to start thinking about rebuilding now, because if we wait until the trade deadline and we just trade Justin and get a second round pick, I think that's all will have happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just reading the comments for a while there. I was going through. There's some roasts on Justin Fields in there too. What stands out to me the most, really, is what happened last year in the Christmas game, and what Greg Penner came out and said after that game, where it was like, we are never going to allow our fan base to be embarrassed like this again. It was like a mission statement moving forward on why they were looking at the coaches that they were looking at. And they just went out and did it last week.
Yeah.
Like, they just went out and did the exact same thing, probably worse, in all honesty. That's the shocking thing to me, that it's not just like, hey, we're trying to change the culture, we're trying to do these things. We heard a lot of positivity throughout the offseason. Obviously, you bring in a coach with a lot of pelts on the wall, 100%. You pay him a lot to change the culture. We were told the culture's changed, and you're only 3 games in, and what you just listed and how the 3 games have gone.
Yeah.
That's, to me, the worrisome aspect of it. Like, I mentioned that the Bears building kills quarterbacks. Like, I'm worried about this Broncos building. Like, it doesn't matter who you put in there.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought with a franchise that is historically has the success that this building has had.
If Russell Wilson can't save the team, then it's got to be a coach, right? And it's got to be Sean Payton. And if Sean Payton can't save this team, I'm out of ideas. I don't know what it would be.
I don't know. That's the thing. That's why I was reading the comments. Everybody's like, tanking, like, just trade them all. Like, that's like what they're right. You know what I mean? Right? You're going through the comments. Like,
James,
it's depressing. That's why I was reading it.
It is depressing, and it's depressing because there's not an easy answer. Like 3 years ago, it was, the Broncos just need a quarterback.
Yep.
And they got the quarterback that was, okay, maybe it's just a head coach. Nope. And that's why it's depressing, is because we have offensive line horrible, defensive line horrible. Caleb Williams gets sacked behind this offensive line. There's no easy answer to point to.
Yeah.
It's not like bringing in one Todd Davis at inside linebacker is going to fix everything either.
They fix a lot.
It would. At least 10 points, right? Is that what we found out?
Yeah.
At least 10 points. James, one of the things that I love doing when we have you on is taking you around the league, giving us some scoops around the league. And want to talk about the biggest storyline in the NFL outside of the 70 points. After I tell you about our friends over at Game Time, you want to see the biggest storyline in the NFL this week. Is it Broncos Bears? Is this the Caleb Williams Bowl this week? Potentially. You want to go to Chicago? Make sure that you join our tailgate. We're going to be out there in Chicago for this game. So join our tailgate, then jump over to Game Time. Use that code DNVR to get $20 off your ticket. Tickets might be $20 for that game right now, so you could get free entry to Soldier Field potentially by using that code DNVR over at Game Time. It is a good stadium.
It's terrible to work in.
Right?
Oh, the view's great. I think we talked about it before, right? I love the view out of Soldier Field. Todd, you like playing at Soldier Field? And what month was it?
I always got there early.
That's nice.
Throughout my whole career, I never played a game like in December or November. It was always like early October. But it was always still cold. Like, it was never like a warm day.
No.
But I got lucky.
Yeah.
Definitely got lucky for sure.
And the Broncos are getting lucky this week, so it's going to be nice weather. Use that code DNVR over at Game Time.
And check out our friends over at Shady Rays using code DNVR for 50% off 2 or more polarizing shades. Shady Rays. With Shady Rays, you can take on the sun with gear that's built to last. Our friends over at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead and the cold weather with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays does it all. They offer the most insane protection in eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements, meaning if you lose or break them, even on the day you buy them, they will send you a new pair, no questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence. They have you covered. They have over 500,000 5-star reviews. Go out, check out our friends at shadyrays.com, where you can use code DNVR for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses.
From the game itself, James, how bad was the Chiefs-Bears game on the field?
Oh, it was abysmal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I mean, it was a Taylor Swift drinking game. You were probably housed at the end of it if every time they showed her, you took a shot of Breckenridge bourbon. But what stands out to me most in Kansas City right now is talking to people there. This is the best defense Mahomes has ever had. Ever. And Spags usually gets the defense playing better as the year goes on. They usually like to hit their stride like mid-November, and it doesn't really matter because Pat's putting up so many points with Andy that who cares if it's a slow start. I thought it was like 2-3 years ago. I was doing a game in Washington. Tyrann Mathieu was the safety, and he lost his marbles in the half, threw his helmet clear across the entire field. Wow. And they were giving up more points per play than any team in the history of the league, through 5 weeks. By the way, let's talk about this tanking situation. Those through 5 weeks was the worst defense we've ever seen.
Broncos are probably competing with that right now.
Well, they go in. Yeah, that game probably skewed it. But they go on and go to the Super Bowl again, anyways. But this defense is the best that they've ever had in Mahomes. I think that's what makes it scary because he's going to catch his stride with these new pieces around him. I mean, they're young, right? And Rashid Rice and Sky Moore in his second year, and he still has Kelsey. Having a defense that's as good as this group right now, I think it makes the Chiefs scarier than they've been in seasons past. That, to me, is kind of bonkers. And Spags deserves a lot of credit, by the way. He doesn't really get a lot because of Mahomes, Kelsey, Andy Reid. He's a great defensive mind. And he's got a really good group right now.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fact, though. I mean, they got a young secondary that's got talent. Here's what they've done. You want to know how they did it? They pick. They have a lot of picks.
Right.
They flip Tyreek for a lot of picks.
Yeah.
And they hit on late round picks. Brett Veach hits on guys in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. They hit on late guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco was a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Was running all over the Eagles defense in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They draft well.
Yeah.
And then they pick their spots in free agency.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
And so the Chiefs are so good, they just destroyed the Bears.
Just embarrassing.
I mean, it was never a game, yet the numbers just came out. That was the most watched game in the NFL this week.
Why do you think? T Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Dude,
100%.
Travis Kelce has 300,000 more Instagram followers since that game.
Great
and his
business
jersey
move.
sales are up 400%. Talk about good business
That's a
moves.
great
So,
business
Swifties
move.
spend,
so
man.
the question is this a fake relationship? That's been floating around a lot recently.
My thought, Todd, is you don't introduce your girl to your mom that quickly. Right? A week into the relationship, you got hey, this is mom. Come on.
Unless she's Taylor Swift.
Unless she's Taylor Swift. and your mom's I bring Taylor to the game.
Exactly. I think it's a good, I don't know if it's a business move, but I mean, hats off
This
to him.
could.
He definitely won a lot more than she did in
Yes.
the relationship.
Big time. All my boys from Philly are like, this is a secret. It's a trap by Taylor. This is to take down the Chiefs. She's a black widow when it comes to relationships. She's going to write some songs about them after they break up. She's a diehard Eagles fan, by the way, from Philly.
Wow.
Really?
And so all my boys back home are like, she is infiltrating the Chiefs organization to take it down.
Since
Man,
the Super Bowl, she's been plotting.
Yeah, she's
like
been
getting in
plotting
there.
since the Super Bowl loss.
And Kelsey's like, well, at least I'm going to get a lot of money from this. So a
Exactly.
lot more publicity, a lot more Instagram followers. But that's what I wanted to think going into this week. But now it just seems like everyone loves the Chiefs even more. All the Taylor Swift fans that weren't NFL fans, probably a lot. Now they're probably all Chiefs fans now.
Yeah.
Chiefs Kingdom, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's Chiefs
It's
Kingdom.
growing a lot right now.
That's what they
Sucks.
call it.
What's in it for her? Just having the Chiefs
Travis
tank?
is a cool dude.
Oh no! If this is a fake relationship, what's in it for her? Not like that.
Hopefully a rematch at the Super Bowl and her Eagles come out on top. I guess.
It'd be all worth it then if that's what happens.
She's getting herself connected to the most popular sport in America by a long shot.
Yeah, she really is. She really is.
She seemed into it, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh.
And I've never seen so many people in a suite in my life. There was
Yeah,
no
it was
room to
packed.
even move in that
Gosh,
suite.
that was crazy. The person next to Taylor Swift looked like Dennis Rodman.
I don't think it was Rob.
I don't think so either. Wouldn't that be wild though?
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past Trav to have Rodman in there or something.
No. Any other big storylines this week that we need to know about?
The things that jump out at me from talking to people around the league are Deshaun Watson's play in Cleveland. That's the best we've seen him play for the Browns. That's the most closest they've seen him play to his time in Houston, and that was their first game without Nick Chubb, which is a good sign. That defense is just filthy.
Yeah.
So Deshaun played well because I saw Monday Night Football last week, and Deshaun was awful. I didn't get to watch this past
He played
week.
great.
Okay.
What they wanted him to do is stop trying to play hero ball and like go and like, why don't you search for some completions, man? And he did that. He likes playing from the gun. He doesn't like playing under center. He likes to see everything. I think playing from the gun, Todd, allows defenses to probably have to like account for him to take off and run. So there's another added element to the offense that I think Kevin Stefanski likes when he's in the gun. He still went out and made plays for him, didn't make negative plays. They were excited about that. So, and I think their defense is unbelievable. Like, my favorite move of the offseason was Jim Schwartz becoming the defense coordinator of the Browns and putting in with Myles Garrett. Like, that game had a play that I've never seen before. Can we talk about it?
Yeah, tell me. I haven't seen it.
Oh, my God. This is not in Myles Garrett's stat sheet where he had 3.5 sacks. And he was unstoppable. He lines up on the left side of the defensive line, Todd. 2 tight ends go up next to the tackle.
Traveling.
He runs back the other side. Both tight ends go back against the left tackle to match him. So he runs back to the right side.
way.
They run again. He runs back to the left one more time. Delay a game.
Wow.
Because they never set. The Titans never set because they kept trying to match whatever side Myles Garrett was going to. I was texting with a couple of people in the front office of the Browns, and I was like, have you ever seen a play like that? They're like, never. Like, we were laughing, like, hysterically. Like, that's how much they wanted to make sure Myles didn't wreck the game.
Yeah.
And they literally couldn't line up because they couldn't figure out what he was going to do.
I love that from both sides, though. I love the Titans say, we're not letting this guy beat us. Now, obviously,
and then Myles just like running back and forth on the line was so great.
I love that, just taking advantage of it.
Yeah, it's cool. It reminds me when like Andre Johnson used to just get double teamed. Like they would take a corner and a safety. Like, don't you guys worry about any other run game. Then you double team him. Like,
they weren't worried about Kevin Walter on the other side.
Not so much. Yeah, man, Myles Garrett, he's a force.
He's unbelievable. He's been doing. There's this thing that's happening. Did we talk about this? Like guys lining up over the center.
No.
Yeah.
All right, so that's been the
but-
major discussion around the league. Is there's these really, really freak athletes, right, Todd, as pass rushers that are lining up over the center. Because the center is, hate to say it, it's a power position.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to cross that guy up. It's almost like you're coming at him. Jadeveon Clowney used to tell me this back in the day. Romeo Crennel used to stand him up back in 2018 after his microfracture surgery because Clowney couldn't get the bend he used to get after the surgery of their own field, their own demise, their own number 1 pick.
Wow.
So we started standing him up, right, Todd? And you can walk from like a linebacker spot.
Yep.
And you can attack the A or the B gap however you'd like. And you can cross him up. Myles did it. He walked up. He was like, like basketball crossing up. Micah Parsons has been doing it.
Yeah.
It's been really cool. I'm curious from like a defensive perspective, like how cool that would be to be a linebacker with your star pass rusher standing right next to you essentially and walking to the line of scrimmage.
I think it's cool. Even cooler if I'm on a blitz too. So he can take him like a run through
side
free.
he's going.
Exactly. I think that's a great game plan. Like you said, the center is usually like the least best offensive lineman in pass protection.
In an athletic ability, like movement,
Exactly.
you don't play in space.
No.
Yeah.
No. So I think having him one-on-one against some of the most dominant pass rushers in the league, man, we need to do that.
Yes,
We
yes.
need
Who
to
would
get
you put?
Randy
Gregory there.
Gregory on the
Man.
inside. Yeah.
Talk about just a physical specimen.
You know
that
you could do
don't
that
want
with.
coming at your center.
You could do that with Drew Sanders. Couldn't you bring him straight down the
You
gap?
can.
He's athletic.
Todd might want to keep him on the bench for a little bit.
I like Drew. I think he's a young player. I
I'm
just
just
don't know if
thinking
he's
if-
ready. I don't know if he's ready. And then this
Have
last
him do
game.
it 4 snaps a game.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's like what he does.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not saying he's these guys because you saw Max Crosby try to do this last week. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
Like he tried to go over the center. I think you need to be a rare athlete to be able to go and do this. Micah's play that caused the interception against the Jets was that. Like he just came around. He just literally like jumped and like pushed the center out of the way and was there in like a half a second.
Insane.
It's nuts. That's one of the cool things that's being discussed around the league is that these guys are like if you have one of those, you got to find different spots to move them. It's no longer like back in the day where like my edge guy rushes from this side
Every time.
and every
Right.
time that happens. It's just not happening in the league anymore.
It gives freedom to the pass rushers, it gives freedom to the defensive coordinators. And you mentioned the Jets. I want to touch on this before we get out of here. James, you broke the news, as you kind of mentioned in the first segment. Is Todd Davis's former teammate going to be the starting quarterback of the Jets in 2 weeks when the Broncos play him?
You could. Trevor just landed. He landed in New York.
How about that?
He has landed in New York. He's got a spot on the practice squad, which the Bengals are trying to get him last week with the issues with Joe Burrow and not really knowing how he was going to and Trev actually turned it down. And then now I think he's like, let's see what happens. I mean, he was the starter for the Jets at one point.
Yeah.
Then it was like really bad ankle sprain, right? In like the opener or the first couple weeks, I think it was. But yeah, now he's with the Jets. I mean, he could take that job.
I mean,
possibly. I don't know.
It's less than 2 weeks, so maybe that's not enough time, but you've seen quarterbacks do it in the past. But if I'm Robert Saleh, if I'm Nathaniel Hackett, I 100% think that Trevor Siemian gives me a better chance to win in 2 weeks than I do Zach Wilson.
And coming from the practice squad, those moves happen so quick. 2 weeks is definitely enough time. When I came here from the Saints, I had to start my first game 2 weeks after being here. When I went to Minnesota from here, within 2 weeks, I had to start. So it's very, very possible that within 2 weeks, Trevor Siemian could be the starter.
Be cool.
I would rather face
I think
Zach
Garrett
Wilson if I'm
would
the
be happy.
Broncos.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be incredible. Nathaniel Hackett pairing up with Trevor Siemian to try to beat the Broncos in Denver.
Wow.
I don't think Trevor Siemian has. I think people like Trevor Siemian in Denver. I can't say the same thing about. I like Nathaniel Hackett. Fans do not like Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, that would just be another storyline, and we lost a big storyline, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers here, and the Broncos not being good, and the Jets not being good. But that would add just a little more sizzle.
That game needs some sizzle.
Yes, it
That
does.
game needs a little sizzle.
Just think about this. 3 weeks ago, we were saying, is there a chance that Broncos Jets will outflex the Cowboys 49ers game? There is -% chance that happens now.
No way.
The Niners are so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Them and Philly are the most talented
Yep.
What is that,
rosters,
week
top to
13
bottom.
when they play
Yeah.
in Philly?
Yeah.
That's gonna be wild.
What I am curious about, like, why is there this perception? We're all over the map here, but this is all the stuff that I talk to people around the league about. There's like this perception where you just do not want to include Brock Purdy among the league's best quarterbacks. Why?
Because they just say Kyle Shanahan. But I agree with you. He should be.
Makes every throw.
Exactly.
Makes every decision.
The
Makes the right
reads are
decision.
great, yeah.
He has yet to lose a game
Yep.
as an NFL player that he started and finished.
That's nuts.
Because he's not a first-round draft pick or a big name.
Yeah.
I
Do
feel
you
like-
think his stature plays a part in it? That's what I was talking to a GM about.
No, I think you see Jalen Hurts and other quarterbacks around the league with a
Jalen
shorter
Hurts is a
stature.
monster.
Yeah, he's big, but he's not tall.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Brock looks like an 8th grader.
You're not
you
even
know
saying
what I mean?
stature. You're saying face.
Oh,
Little
yeah,
baby
the baby
face.
face. I mean, he walks in with the khakis and whatnot, but
Yeah.
like if you talk to people on that team, they're like, he is a bad dude when it comes to when the game starts.
Yep.
He is an absolute gamer. Like I remember talking to Juszczyk about it, and he was like, we didn't know anything about this dude. We had to give Trey Lance all these snaps. We're trying to get Trey like ready. He didn't take any snaps as the game started. It was like a switch, and he
Wow.
was like a badass.
Wow.
And we were like, whoa, okay.
Wow.
And like he's a gamer, dude. But like that is one of those things where we all have this perception and it just sticks in the league.
Yeah.
There's a perception of Russ in the league, no matter how well he plays in these first 3 games. It's not changing right now.
Yeah.
And even though Brock has all this success right now, it's not changing like to give him any credit.
Yeah. Well, and
It's
I think
interesting.
I think Todd hit it right on the head. First round picks that fail will get opportunity after opportunity
Oh, yeah.
after opportunity after opportunity. And 7th round picks or undrafted guys, or I mean, especially Mr. Irrelevant, they probably have to prove themselves 10 times out of 10 in order to be taken seriously.
And the first game he loses, they're gonna be like, I told you about this guy, man.
exactly.
Told you he wasn't the
He
one.
can't cut
they're
it.
gonna be
Yep.
12
can't
and
cut
1
it.
and lose to the Eagles, and people will be out on him.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah. And the other major discussion is the tush push after last night. Like
Yeah.
you just saw the Eagles do it up and down the field nonstop. On our show, we had Brian Baldinger on, friend of the family,
friend of
right?
the
And Baldy and Steve and I were breaking it down, like, and he's just like, I don't get why teams don't do it. Like, you can install this on Friday
Yeah.
and run it on Sunday.
It feels illegal. Like that feels like something you
But
shouldn't
that's
be
fine.
able to
But
do.
the point
Until
is,
it is
until it
illegal,
is
you gotta
illegal,
do
why
it.
don't
Yeah.
teams do it,
Yeah.
Todd?
They
Like,
should.
we're going down a rabbit hole, but I like it. Like, give me a 3rd and 1 goal line situation as part of a front 7.
Yep.
What are you looking for? You're looking for QB sneak first
Yeah.
and foremost, right? And then you're seeing what's happening in the backfield. Because you're in the middle of the field. If they run anything outside, it's not really on you anyways.
Exactly.
So what are you keying on?
King on the O line and definitely the quarterback. 3rd and 1 for sure, because like you said, we're looking for a sneak. But the good thing about that play, or the thing why that play works, we can stop the initial push. Like that's what we can stop. But once they get behind him and start, and all those big bodies are pushing, we need the safeties, we need the corners, we need everybody to be up in the middle to even have a chance to get it, and it's not going to happen.
And
There's
the
so
problem
little
with the
room.
play. Well, the problem with the play is what Todd's saying is the only way you can stop that, and this is what the league's saying, is if safeties or linebackers go up and over the top,
Yeah.
which is going to be real dangerous for everybody involved. Because the only way you can kind of stop it, right, Todd, is if your D line can get lower than their offensive line, which is just doesn't happen against the Eagles. Like Kelsey's so low and that group so low, you can't get under him. So they already take you out.
Yep.
You kind of fall. If D line falls with them, and then Hurts just kind of gets pushed up and over it.
Yep.
The only way you can stop it is by going over. What the league's looking at is when teams start doing that, it becomes a safety issue, and then you can maybe make a rule change.
Yeah. And on top of that, something that they also have is a guy that squats 600 pounds at the quarterback position. So he's getting pushed behind him, but he's also having enough push for him. All right, we got to wrap up, but we have to hit these super chats really quick. We got two. One coming in from Greg S. says, thank you guys for being my only entertainment for part of 5 hours drive back from Miami. Could Russ help a lot by taking a pay cut? And why hasn't this been even mentioned yet? I'm not blaming him, but he can help the team.
Give me a quarterback that's taking a pay cut. I know one.
Tom Brady has.
Tom Brady's the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
People have restructured.
People move their money.
Yeah.
For sure. It was like everybody in Kansas City, we were talking about this before, like, look at Pat, he signed his 10-year contract, and he's not, he doesn't chase money like everybody else. Then he signs the biggest contract in the history of the NFL when he restructures this one. Quarterbacks are always going to get paid. But I don't see that happening, honestly.
So what people would say is Tom did it, one to win, but also he was married to Giselle, who
She was making
worth
more money than
even-
he was at that
Exactly.
time.
I bet Sierra's making
I
a
was
pretty
just
good
going to
living.
say that's kind of what the counterpunch is. Look, you got Sierra now.
Yeah. I think if he wants to win, I think he's going to have to find a way to let the team have more capital to play with to bring in guys, because otherwise he's going to be getting paid and they're not going to win. But sometimes I feel like in the NFL, it's kind of like a rule of thumb, like you either win your ring and then go get paid, or you get paid and then try to win a ring on the back end of your career. He's done both. So I don't know if he's really chasing another ring because he's already a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I think you do that more when you don't have one.
Right.
But I don't know. I think he should restructure, move that money around, give the team some more money to play with.
Yeah, interesting. And the last one coming in from Nikhil says, sorry, I didn't get to ask yesterday, but 2 questions. Is the Broncos defense really worse than the Cardinals talent-wise? And Randy Gregory looks not as explosive as last season. Are you seeing that?
I'll answer the first one. So I talked to some people in Arizona on Monday after their game, and Jonathan Gannon is getting everything out of the talent he has.
Yeah.
Like, they are not a very talented team. I don't think they have a single all-pro player on either side of the ball.
Buddha?
Buddha,
maybe, yeah, Buddha, yeah. Who
That's
hasn't been
probably
playing?
Wow. Okay, there you go.
So I think that's really good coaching.
Yeah.
And to come out, I think, Todd, if you look at it, and actually the Broncos have been very good in first halves offensively. Their teams have come out and been very, very good. They've gotten double-digit leads in their first 2 games, the Cardinals. Then they come out and obviously play this way against the Cowboys. Talking to people in Arizona, they're like, that's how prepared our team is. That's coaching during the week. When you come out that way, that's smarts, that's toughness, that's everything early. I don't think they've really learned how to win yet with a first-year head coach. And you got Josh Dobbs playing quarterback. But I think if you're looking at what you're getting out of your talent, I would say right now through 3 games, Jonathan Gannon's gotten more out of the talent he has than the Broncos have.
Yep, 100%. And what a job by Jonathan Gannon, especially after getting laughed at all off season.
Yeah, that was a terrible speech. I'm not
It
gonna
was
lie.
terrible. I was like, there's no way he's going to connect with his players, but some way, somehow
Somehow
he
it's
found a way.
I mean, he probably knows the Cowboys pretty well too. I mean, he scouted them, played them twice a year the last couple of years when he was in DC and Philly. So, but still, kudos to him, man. They're playing hard.
Incredible. Yeah, they
I mean,
are.
this was a laughable roster around the league.
100%. I mean, they were number 1 to get the first pick in the draft. I mean, everyone thought they were going to do
Their
that.
roster was the reason Caleb Williams was in GQ talking
Yeah.
about how he may go back to school. That's how bad their roster was.
Yeah.
And now look at them.
Yeah.
They could have been 3-0.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wild. And you guys, you brought the effort today from start to finish.
I think we did have some effort.
We didn't lose by 70. We didn't lose by
No.
70. James, appreciate you being on. Todd, always love rolling with you. We're going to be back tomorrow, 11 a.m., to break down this must-win game for the Broncos, or else.
Yikes.
Thanks so much for rolling with us. We'll see you tomorrow.